I don't know why anyone would name their child a swear word. Clearly my parents were out of their mind when they chose it. And because of the stupid name they picked for me, I've had to get used to the smell of poo. And no, I'm not just talking about when I go to the toilet. It started when a French boy moved to our school. The teacher was doing the register, and when she got to my name, the French kid started laughing hysterically. I looked at him and asked him what was so funny, and then he told me. In French, my name literally means poo. As if that's not bad enough, it's also used as a swear word. We were only 10 at the time, but I'd heard my mom and dad shouting at each other using the English version of the word. It was a bad word. I was so angry. Why did my mom and dad choose such a horrible name for me? Did they think I was just a piece of poo? For the rest of the day, my classmates called me Poo Girl, and no one would sit next to me. It was the worst day of my life. As soon as my mom picked me up, I started shouting at her, and then I did something crazy. I swore at her. I didn't even care how she'd react. You piece of you piece of And then I spat at her. That car ride home, I just went insane. My mom always told me my name was so cute, but she was wrong. It wasn't cute. It was disgusting. When Dad got home from work, I was still shouting at Mom. Well, Dad went berserk. He sent me to my room and said if I didn't sort my behavior out and treat my mom better, he'd send me away to stay with the orphans. Send me there, then, I shouted. Then I can change my name and live a normal life. Things just got worse from there. I hated my parents for this. Now everyone in school knew what my name meant, and kids can be cruel. Every morning when I left for school, there would be a fresh dog poo waiting on our porch. There was only one kid on our street with a dog, and it was that nasty French kid. For weeks, he'd leave the poo there, but we never caught him. He must have come before we woke up. So one day, me and my dad woke up extra early and waited. We saw him coming up the path, and Dad grabbed the garden hose, and just as his dog started doing its business, Dad threw the door open and aimed the hose right at him. The water came out so fast. He actually fell onto the ground and started crying. I filmed him and couldn't stop laughing. He deserved this. I then grabbed his dog and said, if you ever let your dog poo here again, I'll show this video to everyone. After that, he always walked his dog on the other side of the street. But then one time, we were playing hide and seek at school. I'd been hiding for ages, and no one came to find me. Then I heard a girl in my class saying, "Oh, hey, Mayard, that's not a very good hiding place, is it?" I was so confused. And then I saw what she was doing. She was talking to a piece of dog poo by the school gate. When would this end? It didn't end. It continued. And the jokes were the same every time. So on Halloween last year, I decided to join in on the jokes. I dressed up as the poo emoji and went along with my friend Sarah to the party. It was at the French boy's house. We knocked on the door and his mom answered. Sarah was dressed as a cute pumpkin and his mom let her in. And then she looked at me and shook her head and said I wasn't welcome in their house because my name offended her and her entire country. Then she slammed the door in my face. I didn't get it. I thought if I made fun of myself, people would laugh with me instead of at me. But that's not how it worked, apparently. And then the universe decided to play with me even more. Our art teacher announced a trip to Paris. So now I'd be going to the land where my name was a swear word. Great! I'd need to change my name. What if they wouldn't even let me enter the country? As I was thinking that, I went to my locker to get my art supplies. I could smell it before I even saw it. A huge steaming turd lying on my books. It looked like a human one this time. I heard a bunch of guys laughing behind me. I gave them a death stare and tried to use a tissue to scoop up the poo. I wanted to throw it at them, but they ran off. The poo left a big smear across the front of my book. Gross! I chucked all of my stuff in the bin and was about to try sneak out and go home so I could take a hot shower when the teacher caught me heading for the door. Mayard, where do you think you're going? Too late. I had no choice now. I followed her to class and sat down. Suddenly, the girl next to me started sniffing the air. Ew, what's that smell? She said. I could smell it too, and then I realized what it was. There was poo on my face and in my hair. When I'd scooped the poo off my book, I must have touched my face. Miss, Mayard smells like a real Mayard. Can you open a window, please? Another girl said. I couldn't take it. I ran out of the class and I slammed the door behind me. I could hear everyone laughing. I went home and ran to the bathroom and scrubbed my hands until they were red raw. Then I took the longest shower and decided it was time to change my name. I looked up how to do it online and realized I'd only be able to do it after the trip. I couldn't miss the trip or I'd risk failing art. I'd just have to grin and bear it. The trip arrived. I was pretty nervous as I stood in the line at immigration. When the officer took my passport to stamp it, he stared at my name for a while. I lowered my head, waiting for the insult, but none came. Instead, he started laughing, like really loudly. And then he called his colleagues over. I felt like a freak show. And that was just the beginning. Welcome to France, I thought. When we got to our hotel, I went to the bathroom. Suddenly, I heard my name being called, and then everyone in the hotel lobby started tutting and shaking their heads in disgust at my teacher. I even saw a mom covering her kid's ears. Clearly, these people were shocked to hear an American lady shouting, "Mayard!" If only they knew it was my name. Anyway, I was used to this, right? The next day, we went to see all the sights. It was amazing. After going up the Eiffel Tower, our teacher gave us a free hour to do what we wanted. Me and my best friend Sarah decided to go to an art museum. But something horrible happened. We got lost. Like, legit lost in Paris. We couldn't find our teacher anywhere. Neither of us spoke good enough French to ask for help, and we had no Wi-Fi. So basically, it was a recipe for disaster. There was a man nearby, and he was saying my name. I ran over to him, thinking maybe he was a security guard looking for me. But then I realized he was stinking drunk, and maybe even crazy. Okay, yeah, he was definitely crazy. After waiting on the steps for like an hour, we decided to head back towards the Eiffel Tower. Luckily, it's easy to find that at least. But by this point, it was getting dark. And yep, you've guessed it. This crazy drunk man was stumbling along behind us. Picture 2 American girls running around a French street screaming. We must have looked ridiculous. I had all these visions of us getting kidnapped. I knew I shouldn't have gone to France. And not just because my name is like the main swear word over there. Anyway, he wouldn't stop following us. He just kept chanting my name. Mayard, Mayard, Mayard. If we weren't so scared, it would have been funny. But then things took an unexpected turn. He caught up with us and grabbed Sarah's backpack. He was trying to mug us. I'd heard about pickpocketers, but I wasn't prepared for this. I panicked, picked something up off the ground, and threw it at him. I didn't want to hurt him, I just wanted him to go away. Only after I threw it did I realize what it was. Dried up poo. That distracted him enough so that me and Sarah could get away from him. We eventually made it back to the Eiffel Tower and ran into the crowd and lost him. It was seriously impossible to find anyone amongst all those people. Our teacher was tall with red hair, but still I couldn't spot her. Instead, I noticed that everyone around us was giggling and filming something. I stopped for a second and looked around. I couldn't see anything interesting, but then I heard it. Our names, well, my name, on a loudspeaker, being broadcast all around the Eiffel Tower. I wanted the ground to swallow me up. I couldn't understand anything else the announcer was saying. But I figured if I went to the front of the ticket booth area and said, "Bonjour, I'm Mayard," they'd be able to help us. A policeman appeared and started escorting us towards his van. Suddenly people started clapping and laughing, and they were all pointing at me and flashing their cameras. I had no idea what was going on. Were we in trouble? But then the roads became familiar, and I realized he was taking us back to the hotel. Our teacher was standing in the entrance waiting for us, looking so worried. She kept apologizing for taking so long to find us, explaining that no one would take her seriously when she'd reported us missing, all because of my name. She had even needed to come back to the hotel to get a photocopy of my passport to prove that she really was looking for a girl named 𝗪𝗏. How would I live this down? We still had a week to go in France, and I'd already been publicly humiliated. The following day, we went on a cycling tour along the river, and we stopped to buy some water. Well, you won't believe what was on the front of the newspaper. My eyeballs almost bulged out of my head when I saw it. It was me, on the front page. I couldn't read it, but I knew exactly what it was about. Was my name that much of a shock? Clearly it was. All my classmates saw and started howling with laughter, and the man selling the newspapers started telling a random passerby that I was the Mayard girl. Great. And then it got worse. My cousin sent me a message telling me to check Twitter. I was trending on Twitter. Someone had actually created a hashtag for me. I couldn't believe it. Was this what it was like to be a celeb, I wondered? And you'll never guess what. At the airport on the way home, the exact same immigration man gave me my exit stamp. He couldn't stop grinning at me, and in broken English he said, "You are so big celeb in France now, Mayard girl." Well, he wasn't wrong there. It was crazy. How had this happened? I'd gone from being someone who found dog poo on her doorstep to someone who people actually tweeted about. I mean, okay, they were mainly making fun of me, but still, I was pretty famous now. When my parents picked me up, the first thing my mom said was, "Still want to change your name?" And then she laughed. "Bet you're thanking us now. If anything, at least we've made your life more interesting." Eventually, the hype around my name died down, and I went back to just being 𝗪𝗏. There would be many more embarrassing moments to come where I'd need to explain my name, going to college, getting my first job, but for now, I've decided to embrace it. I did a Google search, and there are people out there with way worse names than me. I mean, imagine if my name was 𝗕𝗔𝗦𝗬𝗘𝗦. And I guess that dried up old poo saved mine and Sarah's life. Who knows what that crazy man would have done to us.
Walking to the photo shoot location with my head low, wishing I could be doing anything but this right now. My mom was nagging in my ear, telling me every instruction in the book on how I should pose, act, and smile. Despite not liking any of this, I just wanted to get it over with, so my mother would leave me be. Only if I knew later on the catastrophe awaiting for me, this situation would have been a whole lot different. I got into a hotel room where everything blinked. The room for the photo shoot was already prepared. Before I could do anything else, there I was lying on the hotel bed wearing a see-through sundress. The camera girl kept getting me to pose in different provocative positions while she took picture after picture of me. I didn't feel comfortable doing it, but I couldn't say no. Behind her, there were several people watching the shoot, pointing and whispering about me. I pulled the sundress closer around me, but the photographer stopped me and told me it looked great as it was. Then there was a voice from behind the camera. It said, "Why don't we lose the dress?" Everyone nodded in agreement. Lose the dress? I was wearing a skimpy bikini underneath. I really didn't want to be photographed wearing just that. I froze. "Come on, Indy, take the dress off. We haven't got all day," the voice said again. I couldn't believe it. I was being bullied into taking my clothes off on camera. And the worst thing was that I was being bullied by my own mom. I reluctantly took off the dress and threw it on the floor. The camera started flashing at me again as I laid there feeling vulnerable and exposed. This may sound really weird and exploitative to you, but unfortunately for me, it's my life. You see, my home life is a bit unusual. My mom is a fashion designer and I'm her muse. When she was my age, she was a model. She was spotted by a talent scout one day when out shopping. She started doing local modeling and became in demand. She was about to fly out to Europe to film a commercial when she found out that she was pregnant with me. She couldn't go and that was the end of her modeling career. She always talks about how great it was to be a model and how famous she would be now if she hadn't become a mom. Instead, she stayed at home and raised me as a single mom. A couple of years ago, she went into business as a fashion designer and started her own label. I was really proud of her at first. I thought it was so cool that she was starting her own business, but it didn't go well. Her designs weren't being featured in magazines, no one wanted to know. Around that time, I started my own Instagram account. I'm really into photography and I love to put my pictures online. My account started to get popular. Then my mom had an idea. She asked if I could wear some of her designs on my Instagram account. I was happy to help at first. I never would have agreed if I knew it would end up like this. At first, she just gave me clothes to wear. Then she started suggesting photo locations and themes. My posts were being shared and my Instagram channel got even more popular. But before I really noticed what was happening, my mom had taken over my accounts and I ended up being her puppet. Soon I was modeling for her website too. I spent most of my weekends and after school having to go to photo shoots and they were so boring. If I ever didn't want to do a shoot, she would tell me that I was just being ungrateful and that lots of girls my age would kill to be as pretty as me. When I wasn't modeling, Mom made me go to the gym 3 times a week, which I found so boring. When I wasn't there, I was getting my hair and nails done or having facials. Some of my friends were jealous of all the treatments I used to get, but they didn't realize how boring it is. I had to look perfect all the time, if not, my mom would criticize me. But having my photos taken in a bikini was too much. When the pictures were put online, a few days later, I felt sick. I hated that the world could see so much of me. And then it got worse. I read the comments. Now, I am used to getting horrible comments on my page. I have so many followers, there is always going to be a few trolls. But this time, the comments just stuck. I can't believe Indy is stripping now. Anything to make money, huh? Wow, I'd hit that. And some comments so rude or cruel, I don't even want to repeat them. I was so upset and went to find my mom to show her the comments. I couldn't believe her reaction. She just laughed. She told me that I was being silly and that I should know by now just to ignore comments. I told Mom that I didn't care. I didn't want to model any more of her bikinis. Her reaction shocked me. She told me that I was her child and I didn't have a choice. I had to model what she wanted and do what I was told. The next day at school was really tough. Everyone knew that I was big online, but it didn't stop kids from treating me like normal. No one thought I was special. In fact, sometimes I got teased for my modeling. But today was different. Some of the boys had seen my bikini picture and had screenshot it and spread it around the school. I was so upset. My friend Kate reassured me that they weren't laughing at me. They thought I looked hot. But it didn't make me feel any better. I hated the idea of them all looking at pictures of me. The next week, Mom arranged a shoot at a local roller skating rink so I could model some of her activewear. I was dreading it. I had seen some of the clothes she picked out. The so-called activewear included tight shorts and tiny sports bras, which were basically like modeling underwear. But Mom said I had no choice in the matter. The night before the shoot, I was booked in to have my nails done and have a facial. But I was so angry at my mom and so annoyed that I was going to have to model skimpy clothes the next day. I confessed everything to Kate. Then she had an idea. She said that I shouldn't bother going to the salon and I should go with her to a party instead. I think the last party I went to was so long ago we wore party hats. I so wanted to feel like a normal teenager again, so I agreed. A boy from our school was hosting the party at his house. His parents were out of town and probably didn't know it was happening. When we got there, everyone was drinking alcohol. When Kate passed me a bottle, I didn't want to say no, even though I had never had a drink before. But I liked it. Then I had another, and soon I didn't want to stop. It felt so great to be a regular person for once. I texted my mom and said I was staying around Kate's that night so she wouldn't see me drunk. She said that was fine as long as I was in time for the shoot. Then I woke up late the next morning and feeling really rough. I got up and didn't even have time for a shower. I was so late. When I got there, Mom was so busy talking to people she didn't see how rough I looked. She just shouted at me to hurry up and get ready. The makeup artist and hairdresser could tell I was hungover, but somehow managed to make me look good. We started the shoot. I loved roller skating, but I felt so dizzy I was finding it really difficult to go in a straight line. I was sweating and wobbling. Mom kept shouting at me, trying to make me do different poses. Then I felt a weird feeling in my stomach, and the next thing I knew, I was sick everywhere, all over the rink and my clothes. I even managed to get the photographer. Mom realized I was hungover and was so livid. She started screaming and shouting at me in front of everyone. She told me I was a disgrace and she was ashamed that I was her daughter. As I was on my hands and knees on the floor being sick into a bucket, she didn't even ask me if I was okay. I had had enough. I skated off set and put my own clothes back on and ran away. I heard Mom shouting after me to come back, but I ignored her. When I got home, I ate the biggest bag of potato chips and then went to bed. When I woke up, I felt better, but was so angry at my mom, so I decided to do something drastic. I started typing a message on my phone, then screenshot it and put it on my Instagram. In it, I told all my followers that I was quitting modeling as I hated it. I hesitated for a moment and then pressed send. Within minutes, I had more comments than anything I had ever posted before. I realized that my mom would see it soon, and as she had access to the account, she would take it down. So I changed my password so she wouldn't be able to do anything about it. I felt such a rush. I hated modeling, and now I wouldn't have to do it anymore. I could just be me again. Quickly, my post spread, and to my surprise, people had all kinds of responses to say, especially girls who were forced in the beauty industry, who were forced to compromise what they want just because it was better for the business. I was stunned from all the support I received, and it made me feel like I was not alone, and that I should stand up to myself. But the response that kept repeating itself was that it's okay to say no. I had the right to say no to something I despise doing. As I was reading, my mom entered my room without knocking and started shouting at me. She called me selfish for risking her career. She demanded that I post an apology and give her back access to my social media. "Mom!" I shouted. "Don't you understand? This mess had happened because you wouldn't listen to me. You didn't hear me out. But now you are listening because I caught your attention. I'm going to say it one more time only, loud and clear. I refuse to participate in your little Instagram project. I am saying no." Saying these words made me feel like I had a voice. I mean, of course I had a voice. But I was finally standing up for myself the way I should. My mom, of course, didn't look happy, but then she said, "Okay, I can't force you to do this. Just please delete the post you uploaded," and she walked away. To be honest, I was a bit surprised by her reaction, but I was also glad. I can't say that today my mom and I have the best relationship in the world, but it is in progress. Soon after this incident, I've stopped modeling for my mom's website, and she has hired a couple of professional models instead. I've started my Instagram accounts back up, and this time, they are run only by me. They are really different now, as they are just about my photography. I've lost thousands of followers, but I don't care. The ones I have are following the real me, not the fake version I had out there. The best thing is, I finally feel like me. Has your mom or dad ever tried to push you to do something you don't want to do? Tell me the worst thing in the comments.